Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic here, back again with another video. So, this one is going to be a bit different. This video has been a long time in the making. This is stuff that I've talked about a little bit on my stream. I think ultimately what is pushing me to finally make this video today is because of a dream I had last night involving a childhood friendship. And all I really remember about the dream is it was something about going back in time and either doing that friendship differently or doing away with it altogether as a means of significantly changing my life. So I'm going to do my best to unpack this in the best possible order. There's a lot of different directions I could go here. Let's just start getting to it. This video is about the public school system and my theory of how they mitigate and deal with outliers in cognitive ability and intelligence. So this starts with the premise that public school is not for the development of the individual. It is for the greater good of the collective, as according to whoever, the government or fraternal orders, okay? I'm not going to make it very far if I sit here and speculate about all the details of who controls this and how it works. To simplify it the best I can, this is either done directly through the school system, or this is a force that is within the school system that the greater curriculum is not aware of. Now, there are 4 different categories, ultimately, of students. Now, this is all based off of my experience as a childhood, my speculations, my observations. Take it for what you will. But I believe that something like this is at play in the public school system, and likely in many private school systems as well. But the idea is that maybe you can buy your way out of it by going to private school. So let's get started. There is agreeableness and intelligence. And the 2 kinds of agreeableness are ultimately highly agreeable or disagreeable. You know, you're either agreeable or disagreeable, and you're either intelligent or unintelligent. So ultimately, disagreeable students are going to be punished any way you slice it, whether or not they're intelligent or unintelligent. But agreeable, unintelligent students are going to be kind of your average person. That's kind of like your normie, more or less. And, you know, there are degrees of intelligence. It's not quite so black and white. But the gist of it is you are either agreeable and intelligent, disagreeable and intelligent, or agreeable and unintelligent, or disagreeable and unintelligent. So I believe that I experienced some sort of a mitigation program as a child for disagreeable, intelligent students. I scored exceptionally high on the CATS test when I was very young. I believe that is one of the earliest standardized tests that you take through the school. Teachers pulled me to the side and told me that I was in a very high percentile in the country. I was told that I had a high school reading level when I was in 1st or 2nd grade. I have a very good memory. I've tried to say in the past that maybe I have a photographic memory, but we don't want to get tangled up on that. This video might be upsetting to some people. It might fall into the category of like, oh, you know, you think you're a special snowflake and you think that you're oppressed and blah, 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 blah. This isn't about me, but I am drawing this from my own experience. And I do believe that if this program is what I think it is, that I was a part of it. So I remember all the way back to kindergarten or 1st grade, because the way my elementary school was, kindergarten, 1st grade is grouped together, 2nd and 3rd grade is grouped together, 4th and 5th grade is grouped together, and then 6th graders are on their own. They have their own curriculum. So it was discovered very young that I have bad handwriting. If I could quickly like grab a pen and paper, I would just scribble something down for you and show you my handwriting. It's not very good. Here, let me grab this journal. These are like prayers that I write in here. So here's me writing out the chaplet of mercy. I don't know how good you can see that. That's my handwriting. My handwriting has pretty much not changed through my entire life. If anything, it's worse because now everything's typed. Now everybody types everything and you don't really write things as often. But I do not have good handwriting. So this is the excuse that they had to put me in this program. And more or less what the program was, from what I can tell, is just like special education. I was grouped in with students who could not read. I would often find myself at least nearby students who were disabled, okay? To put it in the most politically correct way possible. But in first grade or kindergarten, I think maybe all the way back in kindergarten, so these are some of my earliest memories, I was told that my handwriting was an issue, and they put me into this program. Now, most of my memories of being in this program, I believe, go back to 2nd and 3rd grade. I believe there was some time spent 4th and 5th grade and 6th grade. It was very kind of on, kind of off. Like, it would happen for maybe one semester of the school year, and then it would kind of quiet down. My memories of this are a little bit shady, but I know that it was going on in elementary school, primarily between 2nd and 6th grade. So, what happened was, when it comes to this friendship, this guy ended up being one of my best friends through 2nd and 3rd grade. I made a video going over all of my friendships that I've ever had. If people are like taking an interest in my life, I mean, I've given quite a few details about it at this point. I think it's kind of interesting to put my life under the microscope because I've had a very interesting life, okay? I'm not boasting. Interesting doesn't necessarily mean wonderful. So I met this guy through this basically special ed program, and he couldn't read, and I had a high school reading level. I kid you not, like I said, my memories of this program are, it's not like I remember every single minute of everything that went down. Some examples of stuff that I was doing in there, like, they would have me cut a bunch of pieces of paper on a dotted line. They'd have a piece of paper with dotted line, and I cut the paper. One time a teacher had me, like, she gave me a big thing of like Play-Doh, goop, whatever, and I would like push quarters out of it. She would like time me to get all the pennies or quarters out of this ball of goop as fast as I could. We would write on a table with shaving cream, and then me and this select group of kids, a lot of who couldn't read, who I can just tell you right now, I was the most intelligent by far. My understanding at this point is that I was among the most intelligent kids in the school. I'm trying to be as objective as possible, okay? And I think a big part of the reason that they kept me in this program was to remove me from the general population and class at strategic moments, because when it came to me being disagreeable, they learned this by my kind of like class clown tendencies. I have one memory, this was all the way back in 1st grade. The teacher said something about the difference between the word but, B-U-T, and but, B-U-T-T. And I kind of took the lead in this class meltdown, where I was just like, ha, but, like, it was real. I mean, we're talking like 1st grade, okay? This is me as a 1st grade child. Everybody just started laughing, and I kind of just said but, like, over and over and over again, okay? And it ended up being a big deal because it caused a big disturbance, okay? And the kids all kind of just like went haywire and kind of continued this frenzy of saying but, and it disrupted the class, and basically the teacher had to silence us all. I was pulled out into the hallway, and it was a big deal, and my parents were told about it and whatnot. Another instance that I remember might have been some sort of an early setup where we were at recess on the playground. Again, this is first grade, okay? These are some of my earliest memories. Another kid who wasn't me came up to us as a group and told us about some words like the big China, like dick. Okay, he basically told us about swear words like dick and vagina, okay? And then this group of kids, when he comes and tells us these words, we all start kind of like saying it over and over. And then somebody goes and tells the teacher. And then I am pointed out as like one of the orchestrators of all this. And then they tell my parents. And then my parents talk to me about it. And I remember saying, oh, well, you know, so-and-so told me to say this. And they say, oh, okay, well, if he told you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Right? That's another aspect of this whole thing, is like, this program is only going to be able to kind of absorb you into it if your parents allow it. So this isn't meant to be another video where I go on about so-and-so, whatnot, so forth about my parents. But if you have certain kinds of parents who are, you know, observant and intelligent and philosophical, they might kind of get an idea of what's happening at your school, and they might have a problem with it. If your parents aren't very observant and they're busy and they're the kind of parents who are just like, hey, what'd you learn at school today? You got to do great in your public school education if you want to be something someday, you know? The kind of people who think you learn at public school and it's like some wonderful, important thing, right? Who just don't question anything about the kind of things that happen there. So that was my parents. My parents fall under that category. And so basically they feed you to this program, okay? Either your parents are going to save you from it or they're not. So what I've gathered from my memories of the program is that I became friends, pretty close to like best friends. This child, when I was a child, became one of my best friends when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade. And he couldn't read. And I had a high school reading level. So now as far as like what this program is meant to do, I have some speculations. I have some theories about it. It's taking these outliers of intelligence, right? It's taking these, and we were both in the disagreeable category. All of the students in this class that I was in were disagreeable. These were troubled kids from troubled homes who would disrupt class and cause problems. And I had mixed reviews with teachers. I had one teacher in 4th and 5th grade who was very fond of me and very complimentary of me. You know, I ran for class president. I was the lead in all of the plays. She spoke very highly of me, to me and to my parents. And I believe she was aware of some of these programs that I was in. And I believe she was responsible for silencing some of it. Like during my 4th and 5th grade year, I had mixed reviews from teachers. Like I said, this is going to be difficult to organize this because there's a lot of different directions this takes. This is a good time to mention, like, just kind of how I see, like, your average public elementary school. There's a lot of women in charge. There's a lot of female teachers. They tend to have very leftist views, okay? There was definitely, like, these liberal leftist politics at play. We got a heavy dose of teaching about diversity and feminism and, you know, kind of like anti-white male history by the time I was in 4th and 5th grade. My teacher was basically strong-arming Al Gore during the Bush-Al Gore election. She was really being irresponsible. This is the same teacher who put me in the plays and whatnot, so I don't really have negative views of her. It's a rare situation where on one hand, her class was very, like, basically brainwashing a bunch of 4th and 5th graders to be Democrats and telling us how horrible Republicans are. But on the other hand, like, she spoke very highly of me and told me I was intelligent and whatnot. So I think like I wasn't doing quite as much in these special ed programs in 4th or in 5th grade. The majority of my memories are coming from 2nd and 3rd grade. I have a little bit of a fuzzy memory for 4th and 5th grade, but I believe the idea was to take a disagreeable intelligent person and a disagreeable unintelligent person and make them friends, maybe as a means of helping to lift up the disagreeable unintelligent person, but probably first and foremost as a means of disarming and sabotaging a disagreeable intelligent student. Now, this is probably a good time to mention the reality of boys and disagreeableness, because the entire method of public school is kind of giving you this idea that being agreeable and intelligent go hand in hand. Like, you're not really able to be intelligent if you're disagreeable. Like, if you're a bad kid, you're not going to be successful and you're not smart. That's kind of what's being taught. That's what the kids are being shown to understand. Women are always boasted up. Obviously, women could do no wrong, and when you had any women of, slightly above average intelligence, they were just applauded, and oh my gosh, you're gonna be the first female president, and they're putting all these wonderful programs, and they shake hands, and they win every little, oh my gosh, she won the student of the month, like 36 months in a row for the last 3 years. Wow, she's amazing. Women are pushed up and elevated, and boys, if you are agreeable and intelligent, which means you don't get in trouble, you don't speak out, you don't cause distractions, you don't find yourself in the principal's office, well, then you are kind of built up and made to believe that you're intelligent. Because a big part of what this is about is your confidence, your view of yourself. And the thing about kids is they're just so unassuming and naive, and they don't think about these things, a child could be highly intelligent, but that's not something they really care about. And it might be expressed in like the kind of TV shows they like, in playing video games and playing with Legos. They might try to build a skyscraper out of Legos, and then their dad is like, hey, enough with that toys, get to your homework. And then, the homework's not even really challenging for them, but they're learning from television, and then the bad kids that they're hanging around that like they don't like doing their homework, and it's like they don't know that they're intelligent, and the decisions that they make, they can just be lightly pushed in a bad direction. And a great way to do that is to take this disagreeable intelligent kid and set it up so he's best friends with a disagreeable unintelligent kid. So these kids are spending all their weekends together, having all these overnights, influencing each other, and I think what they're hoping is that the disagreeable, unintelligent kid is going to have a big influence on the intelligent kid who's disagreeable. And as you grow up, you're going to kind of get this idea from your clashing with authority that you're bad and you're not going to think you're smart. And there might be a little bit of incentive for the teachers to kind of like grade you on a down curve a little bit. And basically, guys, it's a program that is meant to target dissidents early, push them down, affect their self-esteem. And I find myself in a lot of gate threads on 4chan, okay? As far as I know, I didn't hear anything about a gate program in my school. But I find a lot of overlap with those kids, okay? They say that, like, there's this big checklist, like, police treat you a certain way, like, you find it's, like, a little bit difficult to get in trouble with the police. I experienced that at a young age, like, throughout high school. Certain kinds of people end up popping in your life. I don't want to go into detail about that, but, like, the artsy Jewish girl. I'll just say that. I did have a friend who was pretty deep in my life, who was this artsy Jewish girl. Now it says that she's going to be your girlfriend. She was never my girlfriend. I believe that she could have been at one point, but the idea that like people are kind of inserted in your life, and it might have something to do with their parents' connections, as far as what the connections are, military, fraternal orders, intelligence, whatever. I mean, it could be people who are recruited. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I can speculate about this, guys. This is coming from my experience as a child, my observations of my life, and the way the story ends, ultimately, is that in middle school, I ended up being pulled out of class, and I took these cognitive tests, okay? I remember one of the questions on the test was they would give me a series of numbers. We're going to tell you a series of numbers. Recite it back to us. Okay, now recite it backwards. And they just kept elevating the difficulty of it. And I don't know like how good I did or whatever, but after this testing was over, in a room with men who basically looked like intelligence agents, okay? They were not teachers from the school. They put me in this room with like two men who basically, from what I remember, like built guys in suits who were not a part of the school, giving me this kind of exam where basically, from what I can remember, it was an IQ test. And afterwards, somebody said, "Wow, you're actually really smart." And then the special ed was done and nobody ever spoke about it again, and it was over. And when I went to high school, because that was like 7th or 8th grade. Now by 8th grade, it was a big deal. Like I went to my first regular English class. I was reinserted back into just regular English class with everybody. We had a poetry assignment where I wrote like a love poem, and the teacher said she didn't believe that I wrote it because it was too good. So that was kind of interesting. My first experience back in like a regular English class with all the regular students is that my love poem was so amazingly good that the teacher thought that I plagiarized it. I mean, I got the grades and everything, but she wouldn't accept that I wrote it. Some other experiences I have in school is me mentioning that I was related to John Adams, and a teacher telling me, "No, you're not. No, you're not." Well, that's when my mom says, "Your mom's lying." That was another experience I had in middle school. But basically, 8th grade and through high school, I'm back in the regular classes with everybody, and life goes on as normal. And this isn't really anything that I've like thought about that much or dissected that much until now. I've thought about trying to organize my thoughts on this in this video. It's a little bit all over the place, but that dream last night, thinking about my friendship with that guy, who, he wasn't like a terrible guy. It's not like I have bad memories of being his friend, but I can say that he was among my best friends for years. He was a little bit bizarre. We did not maintain friendship after elementary school. And he was among the least intelligent of the students in elementary school. And I was among the most intelligent students. And I believe that, I know for a fact that I became friends with him because we were in this program together. And I can tell you, I forgot to mention, a recurring theme throughout this program is they would try to get him to read. Okay, I remember this all the time. He'd be like, and he would try to make me laugh. And I would laugh at somebody who couldn't read. And the teachers would be like, "Now, Jake, it's not nice and it's not funny." And this was like a regular thing. And from what I can gather of this class, like, cutting the dotted line on a piece of paper, pushing quarters out of Play-Doh. There was a couple of different like writing assignments, writing stuff and shaving cream on a desk. Okay, I can differentiate like the quarter pushing and the paper cutting. I remember what room that was in. That was in 2nd and 3rd grade. And I'm a little bit shaky on this other time. I think it was 4th and 5th grade. But it's weird how like these memories are almost like outside of time. And I don't know what I'm trying to suggest about that. People in the Gate threads said that they would like put black construction paper over the windows and be in a dark room. I'm trying to remember if that was like a part of how this class was. I almost think like we did it as a project. Like, we put black construction paper over the windows, and I think that might be some sort of a technique to kind of blot it out of your memory. But I remember this being a dark room. I remember this being a dark room with lights on during the day. So, and you know, these are my childhood memories. And overall, I don't think I do have a photographic memory. I don't know. People don't like it when you say that. I have an impeccable memory, and I remember it visually. I don't remember absolutely everything. I'm surprised about some of the things I remember better than the other things, but I can tell you this. When I remember something, it's not distorted and it's not made up. I would laugh at kids who couldn't read, who would purposely make noises to make me laugh. I already knew going into it, I had a high school reading level that I scored in a very high percentile in the CATS standardized tests. So why was I, this highly intelligent kid, put in this class with kids who couldn't read, where we, you know, write stuff in shaving cream and cut on a dotted line and push quarters out of Play-Doh and, you know, waste time away from the rest of the students? I believe that it isolates you. It has you influenced by these lesser intelligent, disagreeable kids. It makes you think you're a bad kid. It has this kind of effect on you where you basically grow up thinking that you're an unintelligent, bad kid. And I think about so many of the people that kind of entered my life throughout that. And, you know, I ended up kind of being in this, like, degenerate party crowd, but I was always different, and I always kind of stood out. And I think I was probably meant to be more in this, like, intelligent lane. But anyway, guys, I think it's time to wrap it up. Maybe I should have wrote a script for this one. Maybe I could revisit this in a different video, because what I'm trying to say is that I was detected as a highly intelligent, disagreeable child. And I was put into a program, you know, under the guise of my handwriting. But my handwriting never changed. So they didn't really do anything to change my handwriting. All it really amounted to is me being removed from class at certain times. I believe when, like, kids were probably reading, like if they were reading some novel, and I would be taken out. I think what I remember is that we'd be reading, like, Holes, and I'd be there for some of it, but then they'd take me into this other class for another part of it. But I don't really know what I was missing. I can only speculate. I can speculate about all kinds of things, but I don't know what I was missing from elementary school by being taken in this class. But I think that they didn't like the influence that I was having on other kids, and I think other kids are kind of unconsciously getting this idea that I'm a bad kid or I'm a dumb kid, you know? It's taking somebody who in reality is one of the more intelligent students and treating them like, you know, they're these unintelligent students. And I believe it has an effect. And I had, like, a special ed English class in 7th grade. That was the last that I had ever saw of that. I really wanted to be in law. I wanted to take the law class where they did mock trials and stuff. They're like, oh no, you have to be in our English class. And first time I was in a regular English class, I did great. I had straight A's through 7th and 8th grade. It started out like straight A's, and then I'd be A's and B's. You know, I was high honor roll, maybe like one semester, and then honor roll. I got good grades. I did good on the standardized tests, and I believe I was fed to some sort of a strange program. So hopefully this video wasn't too rambly. I'm sorry if this is, like, upsetting to my childhood friend who finds this video. For the record, like, you know, this guy lived in a trailer park, and, like, his dad was the one that reminds me of Julian from Trailer Park Boys. I told you guys about the memory. Like, one time, me and him were, like, left in a truck. His dad's like, hey, I'll be right back, kids. Listen to this song. It's awesome. If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? He left that song on repeat, and it must have gone through, like, 4 or 5 times. And it's just like, is your dad ever going to come back? It's like, it's shut up, he's gonna be back, okay? It's just some kind of like ghetto, like trailer park dad moment. I don't look down on people who live on trailer parks, man. My family used to live in a trailer. When I was like a baby, we lived in Clark's trailer park way back. I don't look down on anybody who lives in a trailer park. It has nothing to do with that. And actually, some of my last memories, he ended up moving into a nicer house out of the trailer park. So it's not meant to like offend this guy. It just is what it is, okay? I have a really good memory. And now it's like, oh, well now I'm like this targeted individual who like gets harassed by some weird program and people gaslight me about it and try to use it to say that I'm crazy. And you know, in a lot of these communities online where they talk about targeted individuals, it's like there's a lot that believe that it's since birth, that it's something that you go through your entire life. Well, I would only speculate that there's room for improvisation, you know, where maybe you're not born in the program, but then you're put into it later. It's just some sort of an existing mechanism that, hey, this guy's problematic. Let's add him to the list. And I believe it has something to do with the Patriot Act. I believe the Patriot Act made it a little bit easier for them to kind of make this look like it's a legitimate thing. But I don't want the video to start going in that direction, but it's like, hey, look at that. Like I did kind of start ending up being one of these targeted individual people, and it starts getting me thinking, well, do I have reason to believe that maybe it's something that I've experienced my entire life? Hey, well, I was kind of put in this weird special ed program for no good reason when I was a child. You see, the thing is, guys, is I think that they detect that you can be some sort of an influential person who is disagreeable, which oftentimes just means that you're capable of critical thinking. Propaganda doesn't work on you. I could really just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I think it's something that kind of went away because I ended up kind of being a degenerate in high school, okay? They train you to think like you're this bad kid. But then I learned drums, and I got really good at drums. As my grades started to kind of go down to shit in high school, excuse my language, because I didn't really like school, okay? I believe that you can be intelligent and not get good grades because you don't apply yourself. And I was just really overnights every single weekend. I always wanted to be with my friends. I was very popular, and I got dragged between all these different friend groups. I ended up leaving a lot of different friends behind. I had a video, again, talking about all my different friendships, if you want to watch that. I think that video combined with this one could maybe give you some insights about my life. Because there's been some very strange characters inserted in my life. A lot of them being military, interestingly enough. But I could just go on and on and on, man. I've had a very strange life. I've had very mysterious friendships. I have kind of had this feeling like a lot of people are out to get me. I've had a lot of experiences where people are cruel to me, and if I try to speak out on it, people gaslight me and try to imply that like I'm mentally ill for noticing this mistreatment. But what I am kind of putting together is that my life was going the way they wanted it to go, and then when it gets to the point where, you know, I'm going to Berklee College of Music, but then my parents decide that they want to like build a custom house and buy a vacation home instead of putting me through school. And then that summer, like, you know, it just happens very quickly. You can't go to Berklee anymore. We don't want you to go back to Boston. And then they try to send me to a mental hospital. They did. They ended up using things against me to send me to a mental hospital. And then after, you know, I win the battle in court and it's removed from my record and it's legally declared that there's nothing wrong with me, they're like, oh, they just keep beating it over my head all the time. You know, you think too much. You know, you're mentally ill, right? You know, you have depression. You know, you have anxiety. You know, you have bipolar. Just, you know, general, like, mental illness because, you know, my dad's not a psychologist or anything. And I might never understand the big picture of, like, what the deal is with my life, you guys. But I don't want to say that I think my dad is involved, but I think there's something about, like, having particular kinds of parents where they just kind of feed you to the system and they kind of play into it, and I don't, maybe at some point they just get full-on recruited, or I don't know, man. And I imagine there's gonna be a lot of people, oh, look at him, he's, oh my goodness, look at how nuts he is. He thinks that he's a part of some program that's meant to stifle intelligent, disagreeable dissidents who could possibly go on to lead revolutions or something, you know? But I'm trying to get to the end of this thought here, guys. It basically like pushed me in the direction they wanted me to go, and it ended up leading to like playing death metal music and getting into the occult and being just this kind of like dissident, radical, druggy guy, you know, who smoked a lot of weed and binge drank and experimented with drugs. But eventually, you know, yada, 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 I'm off the drugs. I'm off the booze. I'm out of the occult. I'm into Christianity. I'm trying to clean myself up. And that's around the time that the harassment started back up. It's like, as long as you're going in this certain direction in life, everything's good. But you're monitored, and I pop up on the radar speaking out on, like, you know, corruption in the system and maybe stuff that the CIA or the FBI do and yada, yada, yada. And well, now all of a sudden I'm dealing with this weird gang stalking stuff. So take of it what you will. I didn't cite any peer-reviewed studies. I didn't hold up any statistics. This is just a man with memories of when he was a child. And I just, you know, right hand over my heart, I say this on Good Friday, a man of the Lord. I did not exaggerate anything that I remember. These are all my real memories. If anything, there are memories that are missing that maybe I will account for over the course of my life. But we're gaining on 40 minutes here, and this is one of those videos that you just end. You know, at some point you just end it, because I've had suspicions in my life that this is just some sort of a strange life that I'm living, and I can only pray and hope that someday I figure out, like, everything about what's going on. And I think that day might be in heaven when I'm dead someday, you know? Like, just, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to in the afterlife, is, like, looking back over your life and being like, what the hell was going on? What were people saying? What were people thinking? Like, was this really, like, were some of my friendships extensions of some sort of a harassment program? I mean, I'm figuring out that some of my friends, you know, like, their dad was a Freemason, and I think, okay, did he have some sort of a negative influence on me? And then I kind of just look at this town for what it is. Like, wow, there is so much military here. There's a huge military base. There's a rocket launch, and there's all these strange corporations that look like there's some sort of shell company for something else. And then I have to say, well, my dad was in the Navy in Vietnam, so, and he said he was stationed overseas, and I don't know, guys. I'll leave it up to you. We're at 38, my lucky number. God bless. Let me know what you think in the comments.